All right. Hello, everyone. So this is my first video posting, and I wanted to do something that was going to help some others out because I do get a lot of questions about my art, specifically my techniques and how I do certain things. But one of the most common questions I get when it comes to some of the techniques that I use is how do I do my dark backgrounds? And it's actually fairly simple, but because I got so many people asking, I thought I would just do a video tutorial showing others how I do it. I don't really have anything to hide, so again, if you do have any questions, just send them to me, let me know, and I'm happy to help out others. So, in order to do this, you're going to need a few materials. First and foremost, you're going to need some kind of a masking film. You might see this called like airbrush film or low tack film, but it does have to be low tack. It doesn't have to be this brand. This brand is Vivid. I've used a few different ones, and I find that Vivid works the best. It doesn't leave a little bit of that adhesive residue that others leave on the paper, because if you do that and you go over it with charcoal, that charcoal is going to really show any imperfections or any leftover adhesives on your canvas. You're going to need an X-Acto knife to help cut off the film once you have it on there. You're going to need a sanding block or just some sandpaper, that'll be fine. You'll need some compressed charcoal, or even a charcoal pencil will work fine too. I use soft charcoal. I find that it works a little bit better. And then I recommend a couple of makeup brushes. Okay, so we'll hop into it here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my masking film and I'm going to lay that over top of my entire canvas. It's important that it covers at least the part that you want to be protected. Sometimes this can be a little bit finicky. So I'm just going to peel off the very edge here. And I'm going to lay that just above my drawing. I want to make sure that I have that pretty solid on there, and then I can just lay out the rest. Because it's low tack, if it's not on there perfectly, you can lift it up and place it back down. If it's a higher tack, then definitely don't be doing this. It doesn't have to be perfect. It really doesn't. So now I was going to say the trickier part, but depending on how much trouble you have placing that film down, this could potentially be the most complicated part. But you're going to take your X-Acto knife and you're essentially going to cut along the outline of your drawing. Take your time with this, and a few things I would stress. Number one, don't place a lot of pressure, because it doesn't take a lot to cut away this film. It tears fairly easily, so a little bit of an indent will work just fine. And number two, like I said, really just take your time with this. Okay, so I might fast forward through this a little bit, or else you're going to hear me just talking about nonsense. If you kind of see this video cut and come back, like little jumps or stops, it's strictly because my dog is being a little jerk. Yeah, see, you can hear him now. He's coming down the stairs to terrorize me. You guys might have seen him, actually. He's the famous dog that was there with my Carey Price photo. He stole the show. A lot of you liked him better than my Carey Price drawing. I don't take offense to that. The dog's a stud. And I will say, this doesn't have to be perfect, because you can always get in there with an eraser afterwards and erase away some of the charcoal that ends up on there. So your stencil doesn't have to be perfect. If you end up messing up a little bit, don't stress. Like, even right now, it's probably hard for you guys to see, but I am not right on that line. The other thing I'll say is, if you're using a grid, consider not placing your grid over top of the background that's going to be covered in charcoal, because even the smallest indent from the pencil will show up with that charcoal. So I've gotten in the habit of just gridding the interior of my outline. And then actually erasing it away, or using a really, really soft pencil and going really lightly with it. Also, you can probably see some of my bed head right now. I messaged my wife this morning and I was like, check out this bed head. Because usually my hair is crazy, but like not crazy in a good way. So I sent her a picture. I was like, yo, check out this bed head. Didn't even style it. Okay. So I think I've cut around most of this. Take care about the corners, because if you don't connect those corners, it's going to give you a little bit of trouble. That looks pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to grab one of these edges here, and I'm just going to lift nice and gently, holding down the other section of my paper so that I can peel away this film. And you can see right there, what's happening is it's not separating. So I might have to come back to that, or if it doesn't agree with me, I might have to come in here with my X-Acto knife and just lift that up. Just like that. Let's see, you can see what's kind of happening there, and that's what happens when you don't hit those corners. See, this is what happens when you do a video. Makes you look like a fool, right? Okay, back on track. As I get to here, I'm actually just going to cut off this piece, just like as a little checkpoint, if you will. And I'll continue on this way. I'm going to be careful not to put my fingers on my canvas. I'll come back over here. Okay, and we are pretty much cooking here. And again, I can't stress the fact it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not just saying that to save the integrity of this video, because obviously I have some imperfections here. But seriously, it does not have to be perfect, guys. Okay. So once you think you have this at a point that you're happy with, now begins the fun part. Let's grab our soft charcoal, and let's grab our sanding block or sandpaper, and we're just going to sprinkle the charcoal directly onto our canvas. Kind of like falling black snow. My apologies for the audio. That probably sounds like nasty static. Now, as I get towards the bottom, because I want to have a gradient on mine, I normally do have gradients, I'm going to actually sprinkle less and less charcoal as I go down. And I'm going to be very liberal with this. I can always sweep that up and reuse it. Now, I will say, when you're working with any kind of a powder, I do recommend using a mask, right? You don't want to be breathing that stuff in. Safety first. Okay, so I'm going to take this large makeup brush, and I'm just going to start smearing this around. Now, don't panic when it starts showing some imperfections. Remember, imperfections are okay. As one of my idols used to say, there are no mistakes, just happy accidents. And you know what, there are different ways of accomplishing this. People are probably going to look at this and say, wow, like, that's what a waste of time. Why not just do it this way? Art for me is therapy. And I absolutely love the process. And I really love doing this. This is just so much fun to me. I do love painting as well. And so this just kind of brings a little bit of that in here. So I'm just smearing this around. Really pushing that charcoal into the spots where I want to have a nice deep black. Now, because, like I said I want to have a little bit of a gradient as I get towards the bottom, I'm just going to spend less time on this area here. That's it. Just less time. Now, I do want it to be even, so I will go over it a few times. But look how smooth that is. I love that. Now, if you do, I do have a couple of little adhesive lines running through here. Those aren't a big deal. Those aren't going to be noticeable unless you know they're there. But if you're using a film that's got a higher tack on it, you know, those will be much more prominent. And unless you want that kind of an effect, you might not be too happy. Okay, I'm just going to collect some of the charcoal because that's my first coat. And I'm going to do this all over again. But instead of just grinding more charcoal, I'm just going to use some of the excess charcoal that I have here. But what I'm going to do differently this time is I'm going to take my smaller, denser, I don't know if that's the proper term, I'm not a makeup artist, but I'm going to take this denser brush and I'm going to use it over top of some of the areas where I want to be darker. And while I'm here, if you guys do want to see more tutorials on how I do certain techniques, please don't hesitate to ask. I really have nothing to hide. This is just something that I love to do, and I've gotten tremendous support from the community for. So consider it my way of somewhat paying back. Dog is being so good. This is crazy. Now that being said, even though this is the way that I like to do this, if you do have another way that you accomplish it, others might want to know, leave a comment. Share the knowledge. Wonder if you guys were able to recognize who this was, just based on the outline there. And again, with the darker areas, I'm really taking this dense brush and I'm pushing that charcoal in, really trying to saturate that white paper. And depending on the canvas or the paper type you're using, this may be easier for you. I will say I'm using 400 series Strathmore Bristol, so it is a fairly smooth Bristol paper, not quite as smooth and glossy as the 500 series, but I do like this as a nice happy medium. You should be able to see how dark that's getting, but sometimes with the excess charcoal sitting on top, you can't really tell. So what I like to do is I come in here with my brush again, and I just sweep away some of the excess so that I can get a better look into what's happening. But yeah, check that out. That's looking pretty good. I'm probably just going to darken up this edge a little bit and we'll call that a day. Well, not a day. I mean, I got a lot more to do here. But break time. Take a lot of breaks. I think people struggle with motivation when it comes to art. And I'm really no different. I think I just manage my motivation a little differently. I don't beat myself up when I take breaks, no matter how long they might be. The break really, I call it a restorative niche. You might have heard that if you've been in the world of introversion literature and research. But it's a restorative niche for me. And it allows me to come back here and put that kind of focus, attention, and detail into my pieces. Okay. So I might come in on this one more time, but I'm liking where it's at. So all that's left to do is just to peel off the blue, and then that is how I accomplish it. I guess, you know what, I will peel it off here just to show the final product and the result of this process. Okay, so now I use a lot of this sort of tissue paper. So I'm going to peel off a piece of that. Because I don't want to do a lot of erasing here. I'm going to come down here to the edge of this blue stencil that's been used to protect my drawing. And I'm going to hold down the edge of the paper. And hopefully, in one smoothish motion, I'm going to peel this right off. Holy cow, it's actually going to happen. Look at that. And there we go. That's how I do my dark backgrounds. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any more requests, just let me know.